Hello everyone, it is me again, Junvet Kweke Valispin, and for today's vlog, we will be dealing about still the Philippine history of the two books, Torrentera and Philippine Sourcebook. How are you feeling today? Are you still curious about the different history of the Philippines and also to the reflections that I have reflected upon reading and analyzing the different topics of the books. And now let us proceed to the 11th 11th reflection and topic of the Torrentera book, and it is entitled as The Act of Declaration of Philippine Independence. When you hear the word independence, it already means that we are free. We have the freedom. Now, after a very long period of time, we are colonized by the Spain. A lot of us suffered, died, become slaves, raped, murdered, and numerous and unforgivable things done by the Spaniards to the poor Filipino. After the colonization of the Spanish, we are bound to the colonization of the Americas, and then we're stolen by the Japanese colonizers, where a lot of Filipinos tripled what they have experienced from the past colonizers, because Japanese colonizers are so brutal and shows no mercy to the people. But it did not last long, because our heroes fought for our rights, and here it comes, our independence and rights have occurred. That they are and have the right to be free and independent, that they are ceased to have any allegiance to the crown of Spain, that all political ties between them are and should be completely severed and annulled, and that like other free and independent states, they enjoy the power to make war and peace, conclude commercial treaties, enter into alliances, regulate commerce, and do all other acts and things which an independent state has a right to. That paragraph struck me because I have seen how Filipinos died and suffered to the hands of the colonizers, how our heroes sacrificed their lives for us to attain the true freedom that we are experiencing right now, that we are encountering right now. They have fought for what is right, for what we deserve, and for what we are. That we are not only Filipinos, but Filipinos with pride and should not be belittled by others. This act of the Declaration of the Philippine Independence, led by Emilio Aguinaldo, made a very big societal and sectoral implications nowadays, because with it, the presence of the contract, the presence of the act, we the Filipinos were able to experience life at its fullest. We have the rights and freedom we ought to have before. It is already within our hands, and no one will ever be unheard again. Due to the presence of independence, and the Philippines were able to build more, inspire, and motivate others. We are able to stand within our own foot and build a peaceful life. There were already a lot of benefits and we can already express ourselves. And to conclude everything under this act into the present, we have seen how it had molded and affected the living of Filipinos from before. It made a very big impact to the society. Filipinos are now smart, wise, and not belittled by anyone. The Act of Declaration of Philippine Independence gave the Filipinos a chance to live a bright and life filled with hopes, far away from slaves and such. And that is one of the great thing that our heroes and leaders fought for us, that we are now experiencing. And now let us proceed to the 12th reflection, and it is all about the 1899 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. In this reflection, it embodies the 1899 Constitution of the Philippines, or known as the Malolos Convention. Present in this constitution are the different constitutions to the republic, government, religion, and such. It also entails the prevailing conditions of the first constitution that was made significant provisions that still remain in the present constitution of the Philippines. This constitution consists of 101 articles that states the full rights of the Filipinos and how it should be. Freedom does not mean that you can do whatever you want, but it's more of doing what you want and love with limitations. As a citizen living here in the Philippines, I must not abide myself not to learn, know, and understand the different constitutional rights of each and every one. Upon reading the said articles, I have witnessed within me on how important it is to enhance my mind and go to deeper analysis, draw to reflections and conclusions the importance and role of this constitution in our lives. That we are being surrounded by these articles that supports our rights and will in this nation. I personally is happy knowing how smart, wise, and well-driven our leaders are. They secure the needs and rights of their fellow people in order for them to live a life with no fear. The Constitution is also categorized and yet is into one goal and objective, and it is to give the sovereignty of the Filipinos. I am very well impressed and glad that I was able to read all the articles written in the Malolos Convention because it emphasizes the Filipinos' right to proper justice, equality, and other benefits. Okay. And to conclude, we the educated ones knows what are the different rules, regulations, and obligations that we must know, do and follow. By that we can comprehend more and should also extend our knowledge to the people around us who are less fortunate and were not able to go to school due to some traditions or financial status. We help them understand without making them feel insulted, degraded, belittled, and such. We must inform them with kindness because many and a lot of them are willing to learn and yet were not given the chance to. And for each and everybody of us, we must put into our minds that ignorance excuses no one. So, we as Filipinos must know our rules and responsibilities as citizens of this nation. So that is the whole sum of the Malolos Convention reflection. And now let us proceed to the 13th, which entitles the Treaty of Peace between the United States of America and the Kingdom of Spain, or the Treaty of Paris. It is very evident way back before the colonization era, present in this reflection is all about the Treaty of Peace of Spain and the United States. Written in this article said is all about a contract that both of the countries agreed to have. By that agreement, they were able to create peace and harmony. In the present time, war is still evident globally, and one great example is the war between Ukraine and Russia, wherein up until now the war hasn't ended and is already affecting so many lives. Living and the source of some goods. Trading is highly affected due to shortage. Treaty of Peace is very important because not only the people around are affected, but globally. Millions of lives are shattered and most lives are innocent lives who are not expecting for it to happen in their entire existence. War is no good. Peace talks can handle everything, if and only if the leaders are not filled with pride, greed, jealousy, and boastfulness. Ukraine is the source of grains which is very needed in terms of food and beverages. Ukraine is the source of Russia, on the other hand, is the source of oil and gas. That is why months ago we are experiencing an increase in goods, oil, and gasoline because the trading and transportation of such goods are held and cannot pass through. All of us did not experience severe crises and are affected by the said war. The only point I am saying is that peace should be attained and practiced rather than war. The Treaty of Peace is very important in every country. I am a student and a youth, and I pity the life of students and youth in their nations who are forced to fight without even the knowledge of holding a gun and shooting. There is no mercy to those young ones who still have a bright future ahead of them. I feel sad and shattered upon picturing it out that all the innocent young minds don't deserve to experience the loss that they have experienced right now. Especially in the countries like the Pakistan and other Muslim countries who are into wars. I pity the children's faces around the internet that are wounded, almost dying due to bombing and such. It breaks my heart seeing people suffering due to a misunderstanding and that led them to war. By that, I can really say that the world is so cruel. No humanity and kindness, and it can make me question, where is really the love? Where is the love? To conclude, we cannot really change the fact that there are wars, but we can avoid creating wars, if and only if Treaty of Peace is observed, talked, and followed. We must not neglect the fact that we are not the only ones living in the world. in the nation. There are a lot, especially to the leaders of the nation. They should not put into accounts the personal matters they have because they are ought to lead and not to create chaos. Living with peace is like living in a world where no harm and no fear, and it is the best thing that we could ever experience. Now, let us proceed to the 14th, which is all about Jose Rizal's retraction controversy. The life and story of Rizal has always been taught to us since we were in high school. Even the novels he created were taught in high school. The Noli Me Tangere and the El Filibusterismo. The life of Rizal from his family tree down to his death and contribution to the Philippine history, which inspired and motivated other Filipinos before to fight for the rights of each and everyone and don't let the colonizers enslave us. The story of Rizal are eye breakers and opening to the people because in history, a lot of Filipino heroes sacrificed their lives to gain the independence that they want and that we are now experiencing. The article entitled as the Jose Rizal's retraction controversy is all about the issue of the case of Jose Rizal during his execution days, wherein Moreno's report is different from Father Balaguer's affidavit. The reports that are written is very far away from what was written in Balaguer, and even in the report he was not mentioned. It was all about the events that happened during the death row of Jose Rizal. Like the life of Jose Rizal, I personally, in my life, is associated with controversy. In my living existence, I can assess different controversial issues in the news, social medias. I also have watched crime scenes and movies like the Paco movie, which made me and sad knowing that an innocent person lived a miserable life in prison because he was accused on raping a failed Chinese ladies, even though the proofs and evidences are shown that he is not involved in the crime, but still they didn't listen. He suffered almost 30 years of his life in prison, and in that documentation, I have concluded that the justice system is not aiming for real justice. I did not experience controversial issues in my life, but I have observed and witnessed some. It makes me sad knowing some controversies that were not given right and proper justice, especially to the victims. I have already said to myself that I should be ready at all costs because there might be a tendency that someday there will be a controversy about me. Therefore, like Rizal, I also have witnessed controversial issues, which enlightened my mind to be smart and wise in making decisions in life because as what we can see, the people nowadays are easy to judge and criticize without even knowing the true essence and story. As well as money and power, it can destroy humanity. A lot were not given the right justice because they don't have the power and money to do so. That is why it is very important not to be blinded by money and be ready for the possible things that will occur in our lives. Because life is too short. We also cannot predict what will happen next to us tomorrow, on the next day, on the next years, months. And all we have to do is to be ready. And now let us proceed to the 15th reflection, which is all about the convention between the United States of America and the Great Britain delimiting the boundary between the Philippine archipelago and the state of the North Borneo in 1930. The convention between the United States of America and the Great Britain, which delimits the boundary between the Philippine archipelago and the state of North Borneo, entails different articles that deals about the agreement of US and Great Britain regarding to the countries that they have colonized. It is a contract and agreement that shows the things that they must occupy. It is made in order to avoid conflicts and wars. Nowadays, the US and Great Britain has the same situation to China and Philippine issues about the West Philippine Sea, wherein they tend to agree on some terms that the sea will remain to the boundaries of the Philippines and it shouldn't be harmed by the China people in order to avoid conflict and misunderstanding. Way back before, I have heard controversies about this issue wherein the Chinese would tend to get the Philippine Sea, but luckily it didn't happen because the Filipino people would not agree and would fight for it to not put it in the hands of the Chinese colony. As a youth and student, it is very important for me to engage in this kind of information gathering because I live in the Philippines and as a Filipino citizen, I have the right to express my opinion and freedom of speech regarding to some serious matters. The convention of the US and Great Britain is same as to the agreement made with the Philippines and China regarding to the said sea. And lastly, with the help of this convention, a lot of matters are being discussed and involved which will give a better understanding to every party and tackle a lot of things on how to grow and develop. Agreements are very important because it will solve chaos through small talks and deep discussions. Lastly, the Convention of the US and Great Britain entails the division and fair portion that they are attaining without any wars included. And now, that's all for the 15th reflection on the said topic. And now let us move on to the 16th, which is about the account of Private William Grayson. In this part, we are now dealing off with the Philippine source book and not with the Torrentera. The account of Private William Grayson is all about the events that happened on why the Philippine-American War happened, on why it occurred. The interviews and reports he said about it, how it all started. In just a single misconnection of the soldiers, the war began. They thought that the Filipinos are alarming for war. The more we assume, the more we trigger the other party, the more they would do everything to destroy us. I wasn't able to experience war in my entire life and is so lucky to have not experienced war, nor a family that is a soldier. Being a soldier really requires sacrifice and dedication. Knowing that all soldiers that are engaged in the battlefield all have families, and once they die, so many families are mourning. The war that really marks in me is the South 44 because they were not able to fight for a fair battle. The moment they land at the said area, the bombs immediately exploded, and all of them died in just a single snap. The only point I am pointing is that the moment someone assumes without any valid proof and factual information, it could really damage a lot intentionally. There is nothing good in creating wars. Instead, it can just lead to breaking connections and bonds. Though we cannot avoid that because it has been a part of, but we can create ways to alleviate it. We should do a lot of things, especially the people that will get involved. Their families, the children. We all deserve to live in peace and harmony, and it really makes me sad knowing that why war exists. I can assess how difficult it is to lose everything and start again. It is heartbreaking. Therefore, the account of Private William Grayson gave me the reason to acknowledge how hard it is to serve for the nation and sacrifice your life. Based on the events stated, I have foreseen the bravery of each and everyone who are ready to fight for everything. The reports of the said events can shatter hearts because due to it another war began. A lot of damages occurred, loss of lives are very evident, and so many are destroyed. War really does not bring good to each and everyone and should be avoided as soon as possible. And that is all about the reflection I have reflected upon reading the article of the account of Private Grayson. And now let's proceed to the 17th. And it is all about the President William McKinley's prayer. The William McKinley's prayer is all about the Philippines. It was stated there that the Philippines is one of the blessings he did not expect to have. Upon winning the Philippines to the Spain, President McKinley don't know what to do in the Philippines. He has no idea how to handle it, and yet he cannot let it rule for itself because it still don't have the power to. Due to that, he asked a guidance to the Almighty Father. He prayed and he included in his prayers that the Philippines will never be given back to Spain. That they will not turn the Philippines over France and Germany, their commercial rivals in the Orient. That they would not let the Philippines to themselves or self-government because they are unfit to them. It can only lead to misrule, that they will be able to educate the Filipinos, uplift and civilize and Christianize them. These are the things that the President asked for because he was not confident to live in the Philippines, and yet all his prayers were granted and went well. Same as to President McKinley, I also asked for guidance and enlightenment to the Almighty Father because there are really times wherein we cannot handle it the way we expect it to happen. I honestly cannot figure things out easily. I have a lot of problems that I talk to the Almighty Father because there are really times where I cannot attain the pain and the burden that I am feeling. I cannot deny the fact that after praying, I can really feel relief, calm, and at ease. It seems like everything was in order, like everything is in place. It seems like everything that my heart aches bursts out and were released. Some prayers may not be answered the way I expect it to be, but prayer is really so powerful. It is answered through an unbelievable and impossible way I could ever think. Faith works to those who believes, and I am one of those individuals who believes that prayer really works. And lastly, we may have different perspectives and beliefs in life, but one thing is for sure, in our own ways, we express ourselves into prayer. We may experience different hardships, struggles, obstacles, and problems in our daily lives. We must not forget to pray and continue striving. The more you believe, the more it will happen. Trusting the process leads to something beautiful in time. So that is the whole sum of the reflection with regards to the prayer of President McKinley. And now let us proceed to the 18th reflection, which is all about the Commonwealth Act number 444, which is known as the 8-hour labor law. In the world we are living today, we need to work in order to survive and sustain our daily needs, even with the little wage we have. Despite the workload and workforce we exert, we still tend to work in order to survive from day to day. Some employers abuse their workers in working, and they let them work overtime without any incentives. Many employees suffered and sacrificed their lives because they needed the money. This thing was observed by former President Manuel Quezon, and by that, he created the Commonwealth Act 444, which was then approved in July 1939. This act entails 9 sections that derives to the rights of the employees to work under 8 hours and excluded during Sundays and legal holidays. If they tend to have a work during those times, they are given an extra income same as to their regular wage and a 25% increase. Any employer who tends to violate the said act shall be punished of a fine more than 1,000 pesos or an imprisonment of more than a year, or both shall be, depending on the said case. Manuel Quezon really cares for his people, especially the peasants. I personally also experienced working part-time, and it is one of the hostels in our relatives. I do all around, from looking after their small sari-sari store to housekeeping, entertain guests if there are, prepare their breakfast, wash the dishes, do the laundry, and so on and so forth. That is my routine in a day, and I can really say that it is so tiring. But I need the money to provide for my allowances for day-to-day needs, from fare, going to school, to the food that I need to intake every day. I do this part-time job in order to learn and experience, and aside from that, I don't want to be burdened to my parents because I still have siblings that are studying in a private school. As an elder sister, I need to do something for myself to lessen the responsibilities they need to carry. As a starting part-timer, my wage is still at a very low pay, but it's okay because all the food from breakfast to dinner is free, as well as my employer sees the status of her employees and doesn't pressure them at work. She accepts reasons if I cannot work for some academic matters or family matters. I am happy working, and I feel satisfied every time I can receive the money from my hard work. It is really something I want to keep forever. Lastly, the intention of Manuel Quezon is to hear the peasants' voice, that they are humans too. They need to rest, they need to spend time on other things after work. It is not easy working, but because we need it, even though how hard it is, we strive just to live and provide the needs of our family. All the hard work we've exerted will always be paid off with success and learning in life, and that will never be devalued wherever we are. So that is the whole reflection I have upon reading the said article. And now let us proceed to the 19th reflection, still in the Philippine Source Book, and it is entitled the 1943 Constitution. In the hands of the colonizers, we the Filipinos were not given the chance to speak for our rights or to fight for our rights. After a long battle for those rights against the colonizers, we successfully were able to attain the freedom that we are longing for a very long time. A lot of our heroes sacrificed their lives to give us the life that we have right now. Not what we are attaining now comes from their sacrifices and determination to free the Philippines from slavery and other violence. Now, written in the 1942 Constitution are the articles that coincide with the rights of every Filipino to justice and other forms of equality in any aspects. In the said Constitution, there are several articles that focuses on the different parts of being a republic country. The preamble of this constitution struck me because it entails the Filipino people imploring the aid of divine providence and deciding to lead a free national existence, do hereby proclaim their independence, and in order to establish a government that shall promote the general welfare, conserve and develop the patrimony of the nation, and contribute to the creation of a world order based on peace, liberty, and moral justice, do ordain this constitution. Upon reading the paragraph, I feel extremely happy because the Filipinos are fully free from the colonizers. We are now able to do what we want. We are having self-government. We have the rights to choose our leader and so many benefits. This constitution made a very huge impact in society and sectoral aspect because up until now, it is still evident in the Senate. It is still given much importance and value. It was made to guide the Filipino citizens and leaders on what to do in order to maintain the harmony and peace in our country without violating any rights of the other party. This constitution is truly a blessing to the country and to the society because we can now truly express ourselves, plan on what to do in order to build a strong foundation and grow. And lastly, it has been a tough fight before we have overcome what we have today. It had taken blood and sweat from our ancestors before we came to what we are today. Every constitution matters and plays a vital role to us because it reminds us of the freedom that we have attained. So that is the whole reflection that I have when I read the article about the convention. And last but not the least, we are now proceeding into the 20th reflection, which is all about the evolution of Filipino nationalism in the year 1809 to 1912. The world is continuously evolving in every aspect they have, same as to the evolution of Filipino nationalism in the year 1809 to 1912. Present in this period is a different general framework for the study of the Philippine society and culture. It is classified into two, the synchronic and diachronic. Synchronic entails the allocation of goods and services, power and authority, as well as ideological inculturation, while diachronic is categorized into three formative period of struggle and period of cultural solidarity. All conceives different roles also shown in the evolutionary stages, periods, agitating sectors and the demands from the Hispanism down to the Katagulugan and up to the present. I may have been absent during those stages and periods. However, upon reading the supplemental materials about the evolution, I have learned the different frameworks, their roles and purposes, as well as the stages, periods, and their designated contributions during their period that brought us now to the present. I have seen and observed that during those periods, the Filipinos are now given their rights, are shown equality up until the time that they are really freed from molestation, violence, and slavery. For me, this material is very important to know because it gave me the idea on what went before and how we overcome all of those slavery and sufferings that our past people, our ancestors, has experienced. It was so tough, hard, and painful knowing what they went through just to attain the freedom and independence that we have right now. It takes courage and will to fight against the most powerful or the colonizers, but for the sake of the future people and generation, they have done something that would always mark my heart. I'm totally amazed about what I have just learned upon reading the material, and I will truly mark it as one of the core lessons in my life. And lastly, all of us experience suffering, but after all the suffering comes light and hope, same as to what we have experienced from the hands of the colonizers before. We are we have already totally attained the freedom and independence that we are truly having right now. But despite the bad happenings before, we are now truly enjoying the rights we have because we have the right to express ourselves. So that is all. That is the 10 reflections that you will be learning and you are hearing from this day. Hope you have learned something and you have also reflected yourselves in this vlog. Thank you very much and see you on to the next vlog. Bye-bye.